teachers and about the legacy that gets passed on and how important it is. But I want to tell you a little bit about how we found our keynote speaker. Her name is Sabrina, and she came to us. She just signed up to come to Energize, and basically when I hit the wrong button. When someone registers for Energize, I do a little searching on you. I'm not quite a stalker, but I'm a searcher. I like to say that. I'm a searcher. So I want to find out what's your studio? Where are you from? How far are you coming? Is it your first time here? And I couldn't find any information on Sabrina. And I went, this is odd. This is a little weird. And so I did some digging, not stalking, just digging. And I found out that not only is she a ballroom dancer, she actually started a foundation. It's called the RES Foundation, and she'll tell you a little bit more about it. But as we got to know her and we talked to her, she was given tickets for her birthday to come here from her grandmother. So this is really legacy in all shapes and forms, and so exciting that I can present to you Miss Sabrina Schoenberg.
Hi everyone, I'm Sabrina. When I was preparing this speech, I kept thinking about the Wizard of Oz. The Scarecrow spends the entire story searching for a brain because he's convinced he doesn't have one. Yet, throughout the journey, he's constantly solving problems, helping his friends, and demonstrating wisdom. What changes isn't the Scarecrow's brain. What changes is what he believes about himself. Dorothy treats him as if he is intelligent and capable long before he believes it himself. Through her belief in him, he begins to see what was there all along and continues dancing through life. In many ways, that parallels my own life. And that's what I'm here to talk to you about today. Although truthfully, I probably could spend the next 3 hours talking to you about Wicked and the Wizard of Oz, I want to start by asking you a question. What makes a truly great teacher? It's not just talent, it's not knowledge, it's not even years of experience. It's the willingness to adapt, the willingness to listen, the willingness to look at a person standing in front of you and say, maybe the traditional way doesn't work for this student, let's find another way. The right teacher can completely change the trajectory of someone's life, not through magic or lowering expectations, but by believing in them so completely that they refuse to let that person believe that they are anything less than capable, so that they can dance through life. My story is a unique one. I was born missing a part of my brain. I have a rare neurological condition called rhombencephalosynapsis, RES for short. I also have Gomez-Lopez-Hernandez syndrome. What this means is I am missing a part of the cerebellum. When I was born, doctors knew something was wrong, but no one could identify what it was. By 5 months old, my eyes had begun crossing. By 16 months old, I went my first eye surgery. By age 2, I still couldn't sit up or walk independently without falling. By 3, I was blind in my right eye, couldn't dress myself, and needed support to walk. Thankfully, I have the best parents in the entire world, and they got me the support that I needed. For most of my childhood, therapy and doctor's appointments were a 7-day-a-week routine. And even today, I still go to doctors or a therapist at least 3 times a week. RES affects every aspect of my life. Because my disability is largely invisible, people often don't realize the challenges that I face. I can't walk a straight line, I fall frequently, I drop things, I struggle with balance and spatial awareness. I have low vision, no depth perception, and my eyes don't work together. My brain and body don't always communicate the way that they're supposed to, which means I can never drive or ride a bike. Also, I live with a spinal cord injury, and most mornings I wake up unable to feel my body. There's no autopilot for me. Everything I do requires full focus and attention. My doctors are amazed when I tell them I'm a competitive ballroom dancer. They credit dance to be a very big reason why I'm able to function as well as I do. Because RES causes processing issues, I need twice as many lessons as other dancers. My brain and body don't always communicate, so everything takes longer. By all accounts, I should not be able to dance. Actually, when I was 8 years old, I told my doctor I wanted to be a dancer. He laughed in my face. He said that it was impossible. And now, I'm a college graduate, a national champion ballroom dancer, a professional dancer, a dance teacher, and I have my own non-for-profit foundation. So, woo! Apparently, impossible is a flexible word. But getting here was not simple, and every day is a struggle. As I said, when I was little, it was doctors and therapy appointments every day. But there was one thing that made those appointments easier. Knowing that afterwards, I would get to go with my mom to her pro-am ballroom dance lessons. And because I was taken out of school for tests and appointments, I was always at the studio watching my mom's dance lessons. The studio became my second home, and the instructors became my friends. And when you grow up constantly feeling different, that kind of environment can change your life. That is something I think every studio owner, every teacher, every coach, and every business owner should understand. Culture matters. Jesse and Aaron DeSoto, the owners of that studio, created a culture of community and caring. They are who I aspire to be in my teaching, and someday when I'm a studio owner. A few weeks after my mom started dancing with Chris from Ballroom Kids, I met this young, goofy, full of energy instructor who felt different to me. But more than that, he became like a superhero in my eyes. The second I met him, I knew he was different. He was one of the first people who really understood me. I told him about my brain, my disability, which is a pretty big thing for a 9-year-old to explain. And one of the first things he told me was that my brain was like my superpower, and that it was cool to be different. That moment changed me. People remember how they made you feel. People remember how you made them feel before they remember anything else. After years of begging my parents, they finally agreed to start letting me take lessons at Fred Astaire. My first teacher was Nick Hacklin, and I truly do not think I would have made it through high school without him. He became someone I could talk to, and someone who understood my life was not easy. He made every lesson fun and made me feel like I had a friend. He's the big brother that I never had. Years later, when I moved to the city for college to pursue a degree in acting, Nick passed the torch to that goofy young instructor I had met years before, Andre Santori. He took my dancing to the next level. It feels like proof that the right teacher, mentor, or coach can completely change the trajectory of someone's life. By refusing to let them believe that they are anything less than capable. Now, let me tell you about this teacher, Andre. Andre is like this perfect combination of Jiminy Cricket, Mr. Miyagi, Maui, Derek Huff, Rafiki, and Thor, with a hint of Mike Ditka rolled into one very strong individual. When we started working together, seriously, he asked me a question. Do you want to have fun, or do you want to win? I said, I want to win. And he said, you're not going to like me very much. Learning from Andre has been life-changing. He doesn't treat me like I have a disability. He's taken the time to truly learn how to teach, specifically for me and my brain. If one thing doesn't work, he doesn't give up or get frustrated. He tries something else. I remember when I first started working with Andre, he carried around this notebook. At the time, I didn't really think much of it. Then, one day during an interview, I found out what it actually was. After every lesson, he would write notes about what worked when teaching me and what didn't work. I know taking notes is normal for teachers, but this became something much deeper than that. It became consistent, intentional, and detailed. He has pages and pages filled with observations about how my brain processes movement and what helps me learn and what causes confusion, what cues improve my balance, what methods allow my body to understand a concept. That level of effort impacts a person. And the craziest part is this. We're talking about a guy who originally just needed a summer job. A guy with zero dance experience, no ballroom background, no special training in neurology, no textbook telling him how to teach someone missing a part of their brain. He was just determined to figure it out. That's what makes a truly great teacher. A great teacher plays to their students' strengths, but also works to strengthen their weaknesses. My journey isn't just about ballroom dance. It's about resilience, representation, and showing others, especially ones with silent struggles and disabilities, that they are capable of more than what the world may expect from them. One of the most important things that I've learned is that teaching someone with a disability is not about lowering expectations. It's about learning how their brain and their body process information, and then finding a creative way to help them succeed. I hate the phrase adaptive dance, because to me, dance is dance. It's not about treating people differently. It's about teaching people differently. Not everyone fits into the same mold. So why are we teaching everybody the exact same way? Andre never lowered the standard for me. He never said, well, Sabrina has a disability, so this is good enough. Instead, he said, okay, this is the goal. Now we are going to find a different way to get you there. He forced me to be uncomfortable so that I could become comfortable. He put me in situations where I had to prove to myself that I was capable. And he has gotten very creative. Some of the techniques we use might sound unconventional, but they've completely changed my dancing. For example, I wear fishnets during practice and competition because they help me physically feel my legs brushing together and closing properly. Andre will also physically guide or manipulate my body into a movement so my nervous system can understand the motion it's supposed to feel like. One of our biggest breakthroughs happened after a regional competition where I completely fell apart on the floor. I was losing my placement in space, falling off balance, and I lost to someone I probably should have beaten. It was honestly pretty traumatizing, and it forced us both to realize that we needed a better system. That Monday, after the competition, Andre came in with coffee and a plan. For 3 weeks leading up to nationals, he placed 4 chairs in a tight square on the floor and made me do everything inside that tiny space. Entire rounds, routines, drills, sometimes alone, sometimes with him. The goal was to teach me how to be compact and how controlled my movement needed to be, to give me a physical structure to orientate myself within. Once I started dancing more compactly, he changed up where the front was to help me work on spatial awareness. And that nationals ended up being the first time I ever won the Open Rhythm Championship in scholarship in the most competitive division at the event. After falling falling apart at the regional competition, I honestly thought I might not even make the final at nationals. Then I won and placed first in all dances, all thanks to 4 chairs and a creative teacher. From a very young age, I've always been very persistent and determined to follow my dreams. I was going to find a way to get there no matter what. I've always been willing to put in the work. I just needed the right teachers to help me get there. That combination of high expectation, creativity, patience, and protection is what helped me not just become a dancer, but a champion. Andre always tells me to get my mind right, because mindset is half the battle. In 2024, I had a nerve transplant in my eye because the doctors believed that there was a possibility I could lose all of my vision. I was terrified. I was 23 years old, and just like any other young person, I didn't want to lose the one thing I loved most. I didn't know what the future would look like, and I was scared that dance might be taken away from me. But Andre refused to let me believe that my dancing was over. He also refused to let me wallow in self-pity. Instead, he started making me do lessons blindfolded. At first, it sounded crazy, but his point was simple. Even if I did lose my sight, that didn't mean I had to lose my dreams. He wanted to prove to me that I was still capable, that my body, my training, and my instincts and my work ethic were stronger than my fear. After my nerve transplant, my eye was sewn shut for a while. Because I'm a little insane, and I love to dance, and I love to compete, I competed in another dance competition less than 2 weeks after my surgery, wearing an eye patch. Of course, I felt insecure about it, but I remember what Andre had told me. There is nothing embarrassing about doing what you need to do to protect yourself while still fighting for the life that you love. Another thing that Andre did that meant a lot to me was he never introduced me as the girl with a disability. He never told judges or coaches or outside instructors coming into the studio about my diagnosis beforehand, because he knew there could be a bias. Even if it wasn't intentional, the second you hear disability, there's already something planted in the back of your mind before they even watch you dance. Andre wanted people to see me as a dancer first, not an inspirational story, not a limitation, just a dancer. There was one competition where I won the grand championship. And after that, my story started to become known throughout the entire competition circuit. By the next nationals, everybody knew. I remember one judge walking up to me and speaking to me like I was 7 years old. I was 23. She put her hands on her thighs and said, "Hi, our names rhyme." And honestly, I think that was one of the most insecure moments of my life, because in that moment, I realized how quickly people can stop seeing you as an equal and view you through a lens of disability. I've always felt too disabled to be normal and too normal to be disabled. That's why the way that Andre approached teaching me mattered so much. He never ignored my disability, but he also never allowed it to define me. He expected greatness from me, held me accountable, and pushed me the same way he would push any serious dancer or athlete, because dancers are athletes. Beyond just dancing, Nick and Andre never made me feel embarrassed or judged for the medical things that I deal with. They never made me feel uncomfortable. They treated me like it was normal, because to me, it was normal. For a lot of 2025, while I was competing the circuit and dancing competitions every month, I was also dealing with using a catheter. Most people had absolutely no idea. To everyone else, I was just walking onto the floor with rhinestones and makeup, smiling and performing. But behind the scenes, I was managing medical equipment, pain, discomfort, and all the emotions coming with something like that at such a young age. And through it all, Andre just adapted. He helped me figure it out to make it work while still allowing me to chase my goals at the highest level possible. Earlier, I said that culture matters. And the culture of a studio starts with the owner. The leadership of the studio doesn't just affect one student. It affects the teachers, the parents, the siblings, the whole studio community. This is one of the biggest lessons I've taken into my own teaching. With kids and teenagers especially, the culture and the tone has to be set the second they walk through that door. This is the power of a good leader. They do not just teach steps. They create an environment that allows people to grow. That applies to teachers as well as students. For as long as I have been dancing, I've watched owners interact with their teachers. I have seen firsthand how spending time with your employees can positively impact a studio. I know everybody is busy, but if a studio owner took just 40 minutes out of their day each week to work with their employees and train their teachers, imagine how much more income you could make because the staff member will be better able to contribute to your bottom line. Your young teachers are the future of your company. Let them know that asking for help is a strength, not a weakness. Don't do it for them, but give them the support and the tools that they need to succeed. There may be a 9-year-old in your dance class right now that wants to be just like you when you grow up. When I was 9, Aaron DeSoto was a Fred Astaire champion and a superstar and one of the top teachers in the entire franchise. And he spent his afternoons at least once a week coloring with me so my mom could enjoy her dance lesson. Well, Andre helped me become a national champion dancer, and Nick has supported me through this really rough transition from student to professional. It was Jesse DeSoto who showed me how to be a leader and a mentor. Jesse taught me something just as important as how to win, how to lead. He showed me that success isn't measured by titles, or trophies, or accomplishments. It's measured by the people you invest in, the support that you give when no one is watching, the lives that you help change, and the way you show up for others when they need you the most. Those lessons will stay with me far longer than any trophy ever could. I want to do this for the next generation of young dancers. Anyone who knows me knows that I have been obsessed with Dancing with the Stars and ballroom dance for as long as I can remember. I've always admired and looked up to Derek Hough. Not only is he incredibly good looking, but he motivates and inspires all at the same time. I was 13 years old when he was partnered with Amy Purdy, a Paralympian and double amputee. The way he approached the challenge head on with such excitement and creativity to help her accomplish the goal that seemed unthinkable, it showed me that anything is possible with the right teachers. Speaking of Dancing with the Stars, one of the things I find really interesting is watching how dancers like Riley Arnold and Ezra Sosa have helped bring a younger audience to the show. They helped make the show feel more relatable and accessible to a new audience while still representing the foundation of the show. In many ways, I hope to do something similar for the ballroom industry. Ballroom has an incredible history, and I deeply respect the system. If something isn't broken, you don't need to completely reinvent it. But that doesn't mean it can't evolve and become better. I think there's a difference between abandoning tradition and modernizing the way people connect with it. We all know that the world is a very different place than it was 10 years ago. I think people underestimate how much this older generation has adapted to social media and the digital world. The power of social media and to market yourself and to market your business is a game changer. It's about understanding how different generations connect and communicate. For example, as I said, I turned pro in January and I've been looking for a professional partner. Sadly, I don't have one yet. But a few months ago, at a regional competition, I was determined to dance. I had some tryouts and I was going to dance with a few pros from my region. Unfortunately, that didn't work out. Nobody in the region would dance with me. I literally asked everyone. I asked every owner, every manager, and I couldn't find anyone to dance, and it was days away from the competition. But I was determined to dance. So, I did something unconventional. I posted on my Instagram story, asking if anybody was coming to the competition and would be willing to dance with me. A few hours later, I received a message from one of the current national champion dancers, who is one of the top dancers currently competing the circuit. He said, "I'll dance with you." And just like that, through nothing but persistence, I found myself stepping onto the floor with one of the absolute best in the country. We had less than 10 minutes to practice together before we stepped onto the floor and we made the final. Standing there, I wasn't just proud because I had made the final, I was proud because once again, I had proven something much more important. I didn't let rejection define me. I didn't let fear stop me. I didn't let my disability convince me that I didn't belong. I know that being 25 and having a disability means people don't always immediately take me seriously. And honestly, I understand. Respect comes with time, consistency, and proving yourself. But I also believe progress only happens when people are willing to challenge old ways of thinking. Boundaries are meant to be pushed. Systems are meant to evolve. There is never only one way to do something. When I first said I wanted to be a professional, I was told I probably couldn't do it. People didn't think adults would listen to me. They only thought I could teach kids. What's interesting is that while people questioned whether I could teach adults, they were completely comfortable handing me this kids program and basically saying, "Go build this." For some reason, they believed I could market it, teach it, run it, and connect with children all on my own with no business experience or no training. What no one considered is how much harder it is to teach children. Not only do you have to connect with them on their level, but you also have the additional pressure of communicating with their parents, who are adults, and have them watch you while you interact with their most prized possession. To be honest, I still don't have it all figured out. I have a lot to learn. And some days, I genuinely feel like giving up. My transition from student to professional has been anything but easy. But somehow, I've had to pull every tool out of my toolbox and figure it out through creativity, instinct, and persistence. I bought different programs like Discover Dance, Ballroom Kids, and Dance to Learn. So this is like crazy. I studied what successful people were doing, took bits and pieces of their systems, and added my own ideas. As a result, my Ballroom Kids program thrived. I had studios in the franchise contacting me about my program and telling me that they wanted to do what I was doing. My coaches always had to think differently when teaching me how to dance, and building this program required the same mindset. I had to flip everything upside down, rethink the traditional approach, create something that worked for my students, my families walking through those doors. And in the process, I built something I truly believed was special. I I think that's become a pattern throughout my life. People decide what they think I can or can't do before I've even had the chance to try. But every major accomplishment in my life has happened because someone has allowed me the opportunity to prove them wrong, and because I was willing to prove myself right. I want to leave you with a few key lessons that will stay with me forever. A good teacher does not protect you from failure. A good teacher teaches you that failure is a part of life, and they aren't afraid to show you when they fail. And that your value doesn't disappear because something is hard. Your value doesn't disappear whether you win or whether you lose. It's about how you get back up and you keep going. A good teacher shows up for their students. And a good studio owner, a good leader, does the same. They check in on you when you least expect it. They believe in you when you're struggling. They celebrate your successes, support you through your setbacks, and stay in your corner long after the lesson is over. There isn't just one way of teaching a student. Don't treat them differently. Teach them differently. Nothing is impossible with a little patience, creativity, and understanding. That is the power of a good, no, extraordinary teacher.